Welcome. As promised, it's going to stay short. We'll get right into it. I'm not sure if we should call this one Let's Get High and Read the Bible. Maybe we should call it Let's Get High and Discuss Our Fundamentalist Upbringings. Anyway, it's fucking fun. We hope you're having fun. We're also getting really close to enough people to start a weekly Bible study. So drop us a DM if you're interested. I am. How about we have a Let's Get High and Read the Bible study? What do you think? Anyway, here we go.
Oh, please request. Yes, this meeting is being recorded. By continuing to be in the meeting, you are consenting to be recorded. There's a first. Haven't seen that one before. Look at the goddamn interwebs, man. Just fucking free information. All you got to do is not be a moron.
There we go. Full
You know,
screen.
there's a moron curve that we all go through. Well, and some of us are currently going through. That'd be you and me. And then we just outsmart it with a little doodle. Look, I got thumbs. I can access the universe.
It's fucking weird, right?
Nah.
What's the deal?
You know, I got this stupid car that I really like, whatever. Mm-hmm. And we were going down to California last summer, at the end of the summer, while I think the fires were still happening, or they were, you know, or maybe I think we got there just before the fires. But in any case, it was during COVID, so I wanted to put a fancy HEPA filter into the. Oh, yes, big. I wanted to put a filter in there. And that's just an unreasonable task for a layman.
In the car?
Into the car, yeah. It's like the the cockpit filter.
Okay.
The cabin filter, right? I pulled up the interwebs. I said, hey, how do I put this fancy filter into my car? And it's like, oh, here's a dude doing your car. Here's how you do it. Careful this part. This part's kind of a bitch. I'm like, wow, that part was a bitch. Thank you, sir. And he's like, don't forget to put this thing back on. I'm like, whoo, I almost forgot to put that thing back on.
It's like perfect instructions.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, it's some guy who's not an idiot showing you how to not be an idiot.
Yeah. It's the weird part. Do you remember before, like, YouTube? I know this is fucking ridiculous stating this, but like, I downloaded LimeWire. Do you remember that thing, LimeWire?
I remember the name.
It's like, it was like a BitTorrent site, so you could like download music. I literally downloaded it so I could find that performance of Skid Row doing Monkey Business on SNL.
Okay.
Do you remember that? Them when they played? Dude, it's like the best live rock performance I've ever seen in my life. And I was just like, I seen it once and somewhere, and I was like, oh my God. And you know, you can't fight it. So you just think about it all day. And then you download LimeWire so you can illegally steal it.
Yeah, I was late to the early Skid Row prowess.
Okay.
I was late. Sense. I was late on the train. I was like, nah, I don't think so. You know why? Because I'm in the middle of Seattle, Washington. And anything with that was way before piercings were cool. So anything with a nose chain to the ear chain is suspect. And anything, we weren't doing tight, fancy pants. You might have pants, but they were Levi's that your girlfriend or some other girl pegged for you. Pegged, Leif, if you're not familiar with that term, is what you used to have to do to get your jeans to be tight because they didn't make tight jeans.
So they brought the seams in for you? Is that
exactly.
What yeah. Okay.
And it wasn't until 1998 or 9 that I discovered I forget what it was called now. There was a rock shop down by the Seattle Antique Mall under the viaduct.
Okay.
And they had stretch fucking jeans. That was the brand name, and it was on the belt, the little patch on the belt buckle place. And it was like, oh, game changer. Like, when I finally met that one guy that I played with your buddy, he was like, "Oh yeah, dude, those are the pants. You never seen those before." I'm like, "No, dude, I'm not you. I'm not I'm not nationwide yet." So
I figured the reason you wouldn't be into Skid Row is because you hung out with Guns N' Roses.
because what?
You hung out with Guns N' Roses. I figured you were just like, I don't need this.
Well,
mayonnaise.
that was actually what turned me on to them, is because like Guns N' Roses loved Skid Row.
Oh, that's cool.
And so I didn't know, but I didn't hang out with Dude until later, until like the late '90s.
Yeah.
And so when it was happening, when they were fucking off the hook, that's another thing kids, older people say now, that they used to be kids when they said it, off the hook. I believe it turned into off the chain, and now I think it's just like fire or something, like combustible.
Yeet.
Yeah, when they were really just, when they were young and hungry, I didn't know. I wasn't down.
Yeah.
But, what else were we talking about, though?
Well, that was because.
You were talking about you went and saw Mark Maron last night.
Oh yeah. No, I went to the Comedy Store finally, huh?
Dude,
how about that? It's open.
Have you seen the documentary?
No, I haven't.
It's so worth watching.
Is it?
Well, and that's where I learned. I knew about. I would fall into YouTube holes, and again, something you can learn. You can learn all about Mark Maron and his backstory and how he lived with Sam Kinison in the house they used to. I don't know if they must still have it, but I don't know. There's a house up the hill that some of the comedians used to live in. The people that were working at the comedy store back in the day. And Sam Kinison lived there, and I believe Mark Maron lived there at the same time. And he was just like, "Holy shit, that was a lot of blow." I think I'm paraphrasing, but that's the
that's the gist.
It's mostly it. Yeah.
Could you imagine?
I'm trying. Well,
specifically Sam Kinison, like living with Sam Kinison.
No, I can sort of. Again, we're not to be a name dropper, but we know some people who, if we'd lived with them when they were not sober. I mean, I had a tough time making it through hanging out with some of those fellas when they were sober and I wasn't, So if they'd been, if they were sober, or if they weren't sober, maybe I wouldn't be here.
Like hanging out with them because they were talking about kombucha too much, or like, okay, no, so.
Like when they
weren't sober.
Well, I was just, they seem to be fans of guys who aren't sober, or like living vicariously,
okay.
Like, that's exciting. You did what? You drank how much? You threw up where? Oh, dude, that's awesome. Oh, in your sleep? Oh, cool. You're not an alcoholic. Can you please stop saying I'm not an alcoholic, please?
Yeah, it was actually I don't drink very much anymore, and last night I had 2 Jack and Cokes there. One of them it was rad. Yeah. It was so nice. Like it scared me through COVID. I didn't want to just be like drinking at home all day, because that's my thing, is I can go pretty hard on stuff. So
yeah, really, yeah, I haven't noticed that. Yeah. Well, and it's funny because I did not heed your advice, because I didn't get it from you about taking it easy during COVID, and I kind of coasted up through the 200 pounds mark up to the 223.
Yeah,
and so like I've been putting, I've been slowly reeling it back in, and I never had a scale before.
Oh yeah.
And when they said, "Dude, here's what needs to happen, just knock it off," I'm like, "Oh shit, okay." So I bought a scale and got an app that connect to it.
Yeah, so you could watch your up and down. Oh no.
Yeah, hopefully down, but up was, it was definitely like there was some stair stepping. But I'm like, yesterday it was going crazy. Like this was a holiday weekend.
Oh yeah.
I made the mistake a while back of reintroducing a lot of people in my life to the classic sour cream with the onion dip mixed in it.
Oh, damn.
And the last thing you ever want to do if you're north of 50 is introduce people in your life, reintroduce that to people, because all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, let's have this everywhere, every time we get together. and so we went away for the weekend, and there were a bunch of us, and I made two batches of 2 quarts each, right?
Damn.
And they both were gone in a day, and there were there were probably 7 or 8, young adults, not me, but nephews and nieces, and they were going at it. So I'm like, ha ha ha, I can eat some of this too because it's almost gone anyway. And so that twice, and then when we got home on whatever it was actually 4th of July. I went over to my sister's.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, I just should never eat that shit again. And my sister, what's the first thing she pulls out? Because I turned her onto it. She's like, look what I made. I'm like, oh my fucking Lord. And so I was like, oh, that's about. I'm gonna say I had a quart to myself over the last 4 days. But anyway, so it was sort of a rough weekend, right? And I'm not gonna get too into exactly how that all worked itself out. But suffice to say, it did. And so, I was like, oh, look, I just dropped 4 pounds. But then yesterday, I was like, the scale was going in the morning was this, and I'm like, man, I must need to calibrate this thing again. So I pulled up the app, and I'm like, how the fuck do you calibrate this thing? And they sent me an email this morning, and I go up there, and I calibrated it, I think for the first time since I got the thing a year ago. And now I'm 199 again. I'm like, I'm under 200 again. What? It's like, it's almost better to not calibrate it. Because I'm like, I think I look better than 207. And I do, yeah. So it's like, so I'm happy.
That's killer.
And scene.
And scene. Clip that. Clip that. Mm-hmm. We'll have an assistant someday. Yeah, I every joke at the Comedy Store last night was about putting on weight.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a fucking theme, isn't it?
Well, it's probably, I'm assuming all those comedians get up on the stage and just look at the audience and they're like, damn, okay, that shirt probably fit you a year ago. Were they cracking on the audience? So Kate and I are kid free, and we haven't had we've been trying to finish this album, and so it's been 17 hours a day every day. We haven't done anything. We've just been working.
Right.
And we kind of realized, fuck, we need to get out, right? And so we booked these tickets. We're riding all day. We're working on this. Oh, no problem. We're working on this all these new tunes all day, and then we realized we read the tickets wrong. So, right, and it's L.A. So we got to get an Uber. Got to get to fucking L.A.
Oh, did you think it was the wrong day or the wrong time?
Wrong time. We thought we had 8:30, so we're like, okay, we'll smoke some weed about this time. We'll call the Uber about this time. And so I've barely gotten out of the shower, and she's like, the Uber's outside. And I'm like, oh, cool. Fuck, we're like, perfect. Fuck, we totally fucked up. So we had this idea, we had raced out of the house, looking like hot messes. I just sweat, running out of the house.
Yeah, it was still COVID.
Yeah. Yeah, we had to put masks on again and stuff. And we figure the best part about this is we'll be a little late, so they'll already have seated some people, and we'll get put in the back, so at least we won't get crowd worked, Yeah. And literally, they put us on the motherfucking front of the stage in the belly room.
I saw that picture. I'm like, that's close.
Oh, yeah.
That's close. Yeah. Someone's going to be seen tonight and probably talked about.
Oh, yeah. There was this girl talking about parenthood, and which is hilarious because I was bringing it up to Kate last week. I was like, the funniest thing for me at least, about becoming a parent was the weird processes you go through before, where they make you take like the classes and like you watch videos and like the breastfeeding stuff you go to like
before the baby comes.
Yeah,
Right.
And there was a whole fucking lot of shit about shaking babies, and like.
Like how to
like shaking a baby. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look. I'm not saying, and you've had more than me, and I'm just saying, like, it's not obvious. It's not okay to shake babies.
It'll kill them. No, you can't shake a baby.
Yeah. No. I mean, well, no. That's not true. You can shake a baby. You can.
How?
I'm not saying you should, but like, what's the fucking? What's the fucking baby gonna do? I'm not saying. No, that's what I'm saying is like you have complete control, and luckily you're a rational adult. But there are a lot of people who aren't rational adults who are in charge of babies they can shake.
Yeah. So, but see, when you.
Therein lies the rub. Yeah,
it was good. I never thought about it, right? Yeah. And so you're in these classes, and it comes up every 5 fucking seconds. They're like, and don't shake the baby. And hey, whatever you do, don't shake the baby. And I'm just like, my mind is
Why
like.
do you keep saying that?
Yeah, like, how many fucking people are shaking babies out here? Like, and then you are like on your 17th night, or fucking 17th month of sleep deprived, covered in shit. Like when you have a baby, you're just covered in fluids. That's all like, you're just wet all the time. And you're like, oh my God, I'm so glad they tell people not to do this,
It's like they're brainwashing, because by the time you're really going to need the information, you're not really yourself, and it's just going to fall back on default. Because default would be to shake that shit till it stopped fucking pissing on you. Yeah. But luckily, if they've done their job right, they've sort of like gotten underneath the your default
the reptilian stem in your brain. They've gotten it in there with the Macarena and
exactly.
Don't Stop Believing
and Rick Astley. Yeah. The funny thing is, so when we were on our way to the birthing class, and I was like, now let me get this straight. Like, we were in Santa Monica. Our kid was born at St. John.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And we're going from Echo Park over there. And I'm like, I know women used to die really often during childbirth, but as far as like parenting, that's a pretty recent thing. And I'm like, I think the baby's just going to come out. And we're in Santa Monica, so they're going to make sure it comes out. We'd already decided we were going to induce.
Yeah.
They're like, you can pick the day. What day do you want? You don't have to. Your water never has to break.
Yeah.
And so we went to a movie instead and just blew it off.
That's cool.
And you know what happened? The baby came out.
It was fine.
It was fine. I have never, not while he was a baby, shooken the shit out of him. Yeah.
Did you ever went to any of the breastfeeding classes then?
No.
See, this is a product of being raised by crying women. Duty is always like right at the forefront of my mind. Duty. So I went to every class, right? And
that's with a U, right? Not a double O.
Yeah, with a U. So the fucking this breastfeeding class, you learn all this crazy shit. One, if the baby's lacking any nutrients or vitamins in its body, the baby's saliva will tell the mom's nipple, and then the mom's body will just start creating those vitamins, which just my mind blew. But in the class was this fucking hilarious dude who obviously liked to get down. And he kept asking questions like, so when can my wife drink whiskey again? He'd like ask that kind of stuff.
It's like Squires is in there. Now, if we're gonna go 3 hole,
Yeah, and so like she brings up the fact that like you can't drink alcohol and then breastfeed your baby, obviously. You know, that's
well, again, you can.
You can. You
Apparently
definitely can.
Not ideal.
So he's like trying to make jokes about this, but the woman that's running the class is like probably one of my relatives. Like she's 6'17", this huge Nordic, just like with braids, like the two braids that just blonde that go down, and like, you know, like she looks like fucking Refrigerator Perry or something, right, you know, like. Right. And she just can't fucking take it anymore. And he's like, well, like, let's say we have a really good night, and then we have to come back. Can we just pump and dump? Can we just pump and dump? And she got like in his face and was like, that's liquid gold. Why would you pump gold? And it's just seared in my memory. This woman like leaning into him.
Oh, and he's talking about, can we pump it and like not use it because it's saturated with Jack Daniels?
Yeah.
he's looking for the loophole.
Yeah. He's like, I haven't gotten laid in 9 months, man.
Well, that seems to be, that's not.
No, him, not me.
Yeah. No, I'm not you. I'm just saying like, well, that wasn't the case, but whatever. Oh, that's a good looking bomber.
Yes, dude, it is. I'm so glad we're committed to this, that we'll meet at this ungodly hour of the morning for conversation. Yeah. I know we can pull it off. Yeah. If anyone can pull it off, we can pull it off.
Yeah. I hope people want to see us pull it off, even though that might. Let's just move on.
I watched that Rick and Morty fucking Seth Rogen thing.
All right. Can you like get with the fact that I never wanted to ever like, I still think you're fucking with me, where you're going to send me this thing and it's going to be like, like,
yeah, what was that? Goat XE? Do you remember that?
I don't know.
You know, I think it was Goat XE. Jonah sent it to me. It's just like someone sends you a file that's named Goat XE in your email. And it's like this long scrolling picture, you know, and it's like going down this massive picture. And right when it gets to the bottom, it's just a dude spreading his butt cheeks and you can just see his asshole. And it's just like, oh, man. Squires. I think Squires sent it to me.
I had that one that was a big giant dude naked in a bed. You can see he's like a giant.
Oh,
cock.
with the hugest cock ever. Yeah.
And you know what? Like, I have like this much patience for that shit. And I smell it coming usually, and like there's almost never a time where I will first of all, open those things. Second of all, like do anything with them once they're open.
Yeah.
But that one I sent to everyone. I sent it to my mom. I sent it to everyone.
Your mom.
All three of them. All three of my moms got them. Yeah. I'd like to apologize. I'd like to apologize for, the email would say, I'd like to apologize in advance, but Cole did the cutest thing. Hey, lady.
Oh, good God. Oh, good God.
I'm just thinking about my mother-in-law opening that. Oh, well, okay. Well, I mean, if that's cute, I may as well open it. Holy.
The layers.
Yeah. Because, there's obviously there's disgust initially, but everyone's got to have a little certain amount of holy God.
Yeah. Well,
I don't care who you are.
For people that don't know what we're talking about, all of my buddies just sent me a thing that's like, Donald Trump just nuked North Korea. And I was like, what the fuck? You know?
Sure,
So, like,
yeah,
I
totally.
open it instantly, and there's this just gorilla of a dude who's sitting spread eagle on the fucking side of a bed with, like, the biggest dick you'll ever see in your life. Like,
That can't be real.
well, actually, it's not. It was
Yeah.
altered.
Yeah.
It was digitally altered. But I didn't find the original, but I'm pretty sure his cock's basically that big. So
Impressively altered. Astoundingly altered. Yeah.
pretty amazing. It's so funny that we have unlimited information at our fingertips with this shit, and like,
And the things that stick are a guy's butthole and the biggest dick on the planet. And Rick and Morty with poop coming out the behinds. Behinds.
I think you'd be into that.
Yeah.
Especially if you can be friends with my ADHD motherfucking brain, then you can get into their humor. It's not, those two people aren't in Rick and Morty.
No, they aren't.
No.
Oh, but you watched that though.
Oh,
That's
I
not
watched
Rick-
that.
That's not Rick and Morty.
No.
Are those some two other dudes that aren't
Yeah, I don't.
found in the multiverse normally?
I've watched every episode, so I don't know. I haven't seen him on that show.
Oh, okay. So I thought that was Rick and Morty.
No, Rick and Morty is literally Doc and Michael J. Fox from Back to the Future.
Literally.
It's like it's the same dynamic. Like they have a spaceship and
So figuratively.
yes,
Let's be grammatically correct.
Um,
Please.
you could-
At this time in the morning,
you can
it's
help.
the least we can do.
You can connect. I taught myself to read when I was 14, so you can correct my grammar.
Oh,
Whatever.
I'm sorry. I'm not making fun of your
You should.
your prolonged illiteracy. I would never
it's
do
fine.
that. Yeah, I've had worse.
Dude.
Yeah.
So, do you have a joint?
You know what?
You're not going to do it this early?
I'm sorry.
No,
I
that's
have
okay. I'll do it for us.
I have so much to do today, which is why we're doing it at 8:30 in the fucking morning. That I can't.
Right.
Which is a bummer because I'm super into it. But I also don't mind. Like, I don't need necessarily to be baked to get to dig in.
It might be even good that
Yeah.
I get so fucking blitzed. Like,
Well, that's great.
After these things, like, if you can imagine me like pushing stop and then just walking around,
Dunk. Dunk. Hey,
it's
Kate.
like, hello. There's just staring at my hands in other rooms. Like,
Right. What are these for?
yeah, I'll go in the back and have some weird epiphany that's nothing, and just like spend 20 minutes beating Kate's ears. Like, if you think about Jesus in this way,
Right.
so yeah, you gotta plan for the aftermath of this shit.
Yeah. I'm only going to say this once. Well, there's two things I'm going to say. One, these are my readers. And two, I have other readers that aren't dark, but I've noticed myself doing the old guy sort of like, like when is there too much water in my eyes? And so you, like old dudes do.
Sure.
And I refuse to do that. And I mean, God forbid we do something stupid and get, virally deplatformed. I just assume it be for, our humor or our lack of couthnesisms, as opposed to like, look at that old guy blinking funny all the time. Someone did a mashup of my weird blinking.
Well, like, I don't know. I think I always, when I was 18, I always would tell people that my goal in life was to have enough experiences that I could wear a robe in public and slap people's hands with a ruler if they talk to me. Ridiculous homeschooled shit, but like, you've had enough experiences in life to wear sunglasses. If you
Okay, great. I was like, well, I think
you can do it.
Well, and that's sort of not a horrible parallel because I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but for the most part, that robe with the slapping, that's a responsibility and that's that's a position that's bestowed, isn't it? Like you have to go through, you have to jump through the hoops to get the robe. But you
See, that's Catholic stuff, right?
Right.
So
yeah.
I don't
exactly.
know much. I've been to mass, but I don't know much about Catholic stuff.
Have you watched you've seen the Blues Brothers, though?
Yeah, recently. I had to wait till I was like 35 to see the Blues. I didn't,
To get permission.
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to watch secular movies, or so it's like you got to catch up.
Right.
It takes a long time to be like, oh, Scarface. I've heard of this movie.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but you'd kind of gotten caught up before COVID, though?
Yeah.
Seems like COVID would have been a perfect time to really deep dive on stuff you'd missed.
I've besides what's the one? I have not seen Clockwork Orange yet.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that shit. I haven't gotten into dug into the like early Zappa shit.
Yeah.
There's a lot of music I haven't listened to yet still. But
Yeah,
I'm trying to, mostly through COVID. This is so fucking when COVID went down, my cousin, my 45-year-old cousin, was like the third death in the country up in Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You told me about it. That was like, holy shit, it's real.
I called you freaking out, right? Because I was like, I'm pretty susceptible to conspiracy theories, so I keep myself guarded. But like, my cousin was 45, and they said he was 57, and the news, and there was all this weird shit going on. So like when COVID happened, I was like, I kind of like I don't want to say freaked out, but you know how people are like, I'm going to get on a routine. I just did. I just instantly started waking up at 4:30 every morning, and like I had put on weight before COVID. I got past 200 before COVID. Yeah. So I'm gonna spark this joint because we should be talking about the Bible, huh?
That sounds okay. The only other thing you were talking about, we were talking about birthing classes.
Oh yeah.
And it's funny. The only parenting class I did go to was when I was getting divorced.
Interesting.
That one is mandatory. You don't get to skip out and go to a movie.
Nope.
And the only guy, it's funny because there was this was while I was in the 253.
Okay.
And I recognized one guy in there he was a restaurateur around town. And maybe I didn't know him then, but later on, like right after that, I started seeing him around everywhere, and it was funny. You know what? I don't have a funny anecdote for this because I don't use his name. So let's just.
You are all sheep.
Here, I'm gonna give you some footage of me like just moving my lips, and you can put funny stuff in.
Justin Bieber is the leader of a reptilian race that controls all of humanity. Oprah Winfrey.
There you go. Do something with that.
Okay.
Edit, make me hilarious.
Post.
Post. You can polish that turd. Yeah. Oh,
so you saw this guy around the 253 after? Oh, no.
Nah.
That was it? You had to stop? Okay, sorry. I didn't
they call that in the industry a conversational cul-de-sac. Cars parked on both sides. I'm gonna have to slowly back out of here. Don't follow me. Don't come down. Oh, you're coming down. Oh, okay. Now you have to back out before I can back out.
It's like when your mom or aunt come in at the end of a joke and they're like, "What's so funny?" And then you have to, it's not that funny, and you got to tell the whole thing again while everyone's listening. So you're just trying to like hit the fuck that shit. Yeah. So. I've been trying to do this thing for almost 2 years now. Because like I started recording conversations with this kind of shit in mind, just talking about the Bible, but like I kind of felt that I didn't know enough about the Bible. Even with my upbringing, there was like pretty big holes, like timelines, dates, situations. And so I started like studying all that shit to fill it back in.
Okay.
Back. Are we back?
So you were under the impression that you didn't know the Bible enough.
Yeah, let me just spark this up. Well, it was kind of like this. What I was taught about the Bible growing up as I started existing in a real world, on my own and whatnot, none of it matches. None of the things they told me. Saving my virginity didn't make my relationship better. Smoking weed didn't make me a fucking moron that instantly lost all motivation in life. And so there's this cognitive dissonance thing that happens where you're just like, it's really hard to figure out what's fucking true when you are indoctrinated. And not just indoctrinated, I really, really believed the Bible, and I really believed the church I went to,
I think that's brainwashed, right?
I'd say from my situation is not a typical upbringing. Yeah, and so I try not to judge other Christians by mine, but yeah, it's like fucking pretty much brainwashing. So, but there's these ideas that I was raised with about the Bible that are just completely not true. Like, for instance, the Bible is not inerrant. It has as many errors as you would expect from a book that is copied by hand, not just one word at a time, one letter at a time, without any punctuation, by scribes who actually sometimes couldn't even read. They could.
Well, you were, yeah, and so is there any chance that because we've sort of touched on this, and
I want to touch on it all the time.
I know. Well, I'm starting to get like this. I've started talking to people outside of our talks about our talks and about stuff that's like, well, and is it possible that the people who wrote the Bible, like you said, it's really just the greatest hits. It's the best life lessons and the greatest, the things on how to live. The things on how to live your life and how to, is it possible that when they say the Bible is inerrant, that they're not talking literally?
Well,
they're talking like figuratively, like if whatever you take from this, it can't be wrong. Again with the internalizing you were talking about. There's a passage or there's some part of it that says that once you've done enough work, you won't have to go to church anymore. Or you won't need what was that? What was that part you said about?
Yeah, let's set that up. So, in that time, the Old Testament, when that was given to the Israelites, they had to go to a priest who would offer a sacrifice for them. So, what that's referring to is that at some point, that sacrificial system where you can't just say, "God, forgive me," where you can't just go meet with God and figure it out. You have to go kill this perfect animal and put it on an altar.
Right.
That's how that was always interpreted for me. And I have to go back and study context to really get that fully. But I'm trying to unpack your question.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is so I'll be super interested if you're going to start doing that. Like you have so much knowledge, but you have it from a very consistent and very not necessarily narrow perspective, but a very
pretty narrow.
It's pretty narrow, right? It's like this because people were telling you how to interpret it, and now that you have life skills, now that you're your own person, like when you're a fucking kid, you have zero perspective, you have zero life skills, you have zero. You don't know that maybe the people who are guiding you or counseling you. Or that they can be fallible. Right. You just assume, 2 + 7 is 2. Thank you, great, I got the answer. And then you go through life. But then for you, what an incredible. It's gonna be kind of tragic and like you're gonna get so mad at times if you really go in and like unpeel, like you're saying, like read these things with a perspective where now you're looking for context. And context is something that kids have no idea even exists. It's black and white. Literally.
Yes.
It's on the page, right?
Yes, exactly. And see, that's how I kind of grew up in this, like, a very strict fundamentalist way in which not many Christians engage or live in this way. It's almost like Jehovah's Witnesses or, my family and a lot of the people that I grew up with are amazing people who are just good Christians, trying to be good Christians at least, right? So, not them, but what they would say about this conversation, like everything you just said, they would say that there's only one way to interpret the Bible, and there's only one way to live the Bible, and that these words are actually inerrant, meaning, and I'll give you the verse too. So I can't remember where it is, but it says, all scripture is breathed from the breath of God and profitable for retribution and righteousness. And there's like this idea that God, through the ages, through every scribe's hand, it wasn't that scribe copying the Bible, that illiterate scribe who could only sign his name copying the Bible. It was God's hand moving that scribe to ensure the accuracy of the words and ensure the accuracy of the message and give it to us.
Okay, and that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. You know, it's like if some people want to, if like that's faith, right? And that's where I sort of draw the line. Is like, okay, look, if you're telling me, no, I'm not even like. That's where I draw the line. Is like, and that's where I think we should draw the line. Like, I think. Maybe what, look, you and I have had a lot of things where it's like, I just like talking and I've been through a ton of shit and somehow it always comes out as advice, but I'm not trying to give you advice.
Right. Yeah.
I'm just like, here's where I've gotten to. Right. And this is the thing. It's like, you know better than to believe that an all-knowing deity was energetically pushing every scribe's hand while he was writing these fucking, you know, it's like, you know better than that. It's not the case.
Do you know how I know better than that?
How?
By listening to different professors who have studied these manuscripts and the different professors that speak in these languages and hearing what they have to say and trusting them. So it was even very recently, you know, and it's like, that's the kind of the problem with faith is that these small little rural institutions or even sometimes mega fucking places and arenas, that allows them to just fucking manipulate the fuck out of these people.
Right.
And they never get deeper in it. They never understand the dates or the times. They never actually even fucking read the book. They just go to church on Sunday. That's what they do.
I guess I have I'm, and again, this is like we're just unpeeling the onion here. Every time we do this, we're just unpeeling the onion, and I get more information and more perspective.
Yeah.
And the thing that, you know, like, yes, organized religion is a sham, is a
racket.
It's a racket. It's a money laundering enterprise. You know, where it's legal to get money and do whatever you want with it, and not pay taxes. But, you know, something my dad said a long time ago when I was first, you know, right after he told me I don't have to go to church anymore, I'm like, well, why do you, you know, you literally think that they turn that cup of wine, which is shitty wine. It's not even good wine. So you're telling me that, like, they're turning that and the wafer, that's literally, not the literally of today, the Eucharist, it becomes the blood and the body of Christ. So you're eating a chunk of your Lord Savior, and you believe that, A, you're eating a dude and drinking his blood. That seems really weird. If you really believe that, that seems really weird to me. I mean, that you're eating him. If you really believe you're eating a piece, like, doesn't that make you a cannibal? Or whatever. And the second thing is, if you believe that process is possible, but you can't miraculously, you know, conjure $35 into your checking account for me to get some fucking, you know, some turf shoes for football practice. So, you know, where there's a disconnect here on what's possible in this reality that we're in. And I find it hard to believe that you are signing up for this thing. But what he told me was that, you know, even the televangelists who get people to send them all money, if it brings people peace, if it brings them a little bit of serenity, if, you know, even though it brings them an empty bank account because they fucking give all their money to these, you know, charlatans, it's a good thing. And my
Is
problem is, well, that's what he would say. But now I'm starting to realize it's not just the organized religion that's the problem. It's that some people are fucking sheep. And they just want to be told what to do, what to believe, and where to piss. And they don't care if you tell them to piss in the corner of their house, they're going to. Yeah. Because they just need that, look, at least I'm not in charge. If I just do what he says, I'm fucking cool.
It's a hard burden. Knowledge is a burden, you know? Yeah.
Well, and free will is a burden.
Yeah.
You know, like if you get to do whatever you want, well, then why wouldn't I just sit around and jack off all day?
Well, you know? and there's also another to these, all of our credits, you know, maybe they look out at the world and they freak out because it's so amazing. It's pretty big. You know, there's this verse in Romans that says if no one talks about me, even the mountains and the rocks will cry out. And it was essentially God saying, like, look at all this shit I built. Come on, no, you guys don't even have to acknowledge I'm alive and I'm still here, kind of a thing, right? So you can have a wonderment about how deep does this go. But the hilarious part is on that journey, you started out, and what a cool journey that was, right? Then you just fucking stopped. You just fucking stopped. You literally have no depth to your faith if you don't read or understand the Bible. And the Bible's so big, if you want to understand it, I was taught it's the first thing you do for an hour every morning. And that's how I lived my life for basically my whole life, is you spend 1 hour every morning reading the Word of God, because you hide the Word of God in your heart so you might not sin against God. Right? So you put it in there all the time. You just constantly put it in there. It's the manual. It's everything.
Okay, you just gave me goosebumps. And that's the kind of goosebumps I got in that couple times at church when I was stoned. Listening to because I'm starting to just think the Bible, like every time they talk about God, they mean you.
Well,
because God is in, you know, we're all magic and we're all miraculous for even being here. Well, the consciousness is a miracle. And so, you know, but I was also thinking that, and you know, if you spend an hour a day doing something, you'll be a master of it, no matter what it is. You know what I mean? Like, within, you know, 10,000 hours.
Yeah.
You know, and dude, that's only what, like, how many days is that?
It's a lot. I sucked at guitar. I was the worst guitar player ever. That's why I played it 14 hours a day for 25 years until I was decent. You know? Yeah. But on the spiritual side of it, it's just, we were talking about churches. How do we get to how you study the Bible? Because why isn't this a normal thing? You think you would see the fruits of this happen, and if someone was reading the Bible constantly and trying to live as Jesus was, wouldn't they be just like the coolest, nicest, kindest, most giving, most open human?
Well, yeah, maybe, but I think again the problem is perspective, and the perspective you're starting with. Like if people are like you, I'm just going to use you as, you're the only example I have.
Sweet.
You became a master of the Bible because, so if you're going to read it an hour a day in 416 days, you'll have spent, no, that doesn't make any sense. That's 24 hours. I don't know. Never mind. It's 10,000 days. That's what you know. Sorry.
Well, here, look,
your perspective was so narrow when you started reading the Bible that you didn't turn into this deep, awesome hippie. You turned into this, like, you know what I mean? Like you turned into this, you didn't turn into a guru. You turned into a follower. You turned into like a fearful, closed-minded, follower.
I'll do you one better. That was the model of perfection that was taught to me. The best thing you could do is be a servant for Christ in this life.
Sure.
Whatever happens. So, and what that means is you obey your mother and father to like whatever they say, no matter what. Like one time I got in really big trouble when I was young. I stuck a fucking tweezer in an outlet. I like shorted the house out. My hair was all up. My mom was so mad. I got spanked so hard. She put me in a bathtub, and she started the water because I was also playing outside, so it was dirty. And she's like, "Don't you move." And the phone rang, and she was on the phone for a minute, and she had forgotten about me. And she said she drops the phone, runs back to the bathroom, and I am there in the bathtub still, and the water is like right at my nose, and my arms are at my side, and like I have been in that exact position since she told me, like that was what you do. And so there's not even room for objectivity, because if you do buck against the system or ask questions, you get kicked out of the fucking tribe.
Right. Well, I just, and I get, again, it's like, I think that it's super important. Well, and I can't wait to hear if you're going to move forward with revisiting the Bibles, are they both Bibles, or is it just one Bible and it's Old Testament, New Testament?
I like to think of it as two different religions together. Yeah, the Old Testament is different than the New Testament completely. And
is that one Bible, or is that two Bibles?
So the Christian faith puts them both together and says this is the Word of God, that it starts with the Jewish religion and it's perfected with Jesus.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's one. So I'll be super interested, because I think what's important, especially the inerrant part, that's a little tricky unless you say that it's the idea of the Bible. Again, remember I was like, the Bible should always be into quotes now, because for moving forward, we should always I guess it depends on what we want to do. Are we going to continue to pick apart things? Because I'm starting to come to a realization that like these talks are still going to be amazing, but for me, it's just like, okay, well, what the Bible means is, be true to yourself and be honest, which means, take from these things what, the information that's there, not just the information that's written.
So I agree 100%. But what the argument would be, what the devil's advocate thing, what Christians would say, is that when you're born into sin. So the problem about being true to yourself is that you're going to hell. Okay? And there's nothing you can do about it, because when you're born here, that's what happens. If you're a human here, you're in sin. And the only way to not be in sin is to accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. So that's the problem. But the weird thing is you see through these conversations, because they get so fucking ridiculous, right? And so big, that the Bible has so many different stories in it that you can kind of find anything you want, right? It's like a fucking Baskin Robbins in there. Like, what do you want to talk about? Money, sexual immorality. So I guess what we should be doing is interpreting it the best we can and talking about it the best we can and unpacking it, right? But at the same time, no one in any church that I have ever been to, and I would say not at least I'd say every church, Christian church in America, they hide behind this crazy bubble faith they've made. It has more to do with community and has more to do with political ideals. It doesn't have anything to do with looking at our best knowledge. Because if we're supposed to interpret this, well, let's look back at the earliest copies, right? So we should probably find the source, right? We should go back as far as we can, right?
Yeah.
And if you start doing that, the Bible is so error-filled. It's so crazy error-filled. And it makes sense, because we don't have the original copies. We have copies of 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 copies. Those are the first ones we get. We only know that the books were written in these times because we'll have literally a fragment this big of Mark, and you can tell, oh, that's Mark, the Gospel of Mark, So it must have existed in 64 AD, or whatever it was. But no one does that. No one does that. Why? Because that takes work and time, and you have to read the Bible, and the Bible's fucking boring. It's really long, and there's a lot of people that are like, there's genealogies. David begot Seth. Seth begot Jethro. Jethro brought into the world Sarai. It's there's fucking entire books that are just that.
Okay, so then let's just milk your knowledge because it's the most amazing thing there is to me. So the original sin, that whole thing, can we unpeel the original sin onion?
Yeah, I love this one because and again, like this is the fun part about like, my parents, as crazy as they were, they had one thing right. They thought experiences in life were more valuable than education, and I agree. So I luckily have had like a lot of experiences, like a lot of missions trips. Like I lived in Russia for a minute, worked at a Bible college. I've done a lot of, so you meet a lot of people, you see a lot of different things. Original sin is always taught, Adam and Eve, right? So there's like, everything's fucking perfect. God made the world in, 6 days, and he made like Adam and Eve on the first day, or sometimes he made them on the fifth day. It's like people don't pick up on the inconsistencies in the two creation narratives that are smashed together. But this apple, this serpent, this whole story of the woman taking the apple and eating first, and that's why she has to have pain and pregnancy. But I don't think that's original sin.
Right, okay, but hold on. So, I'm sorry. So, day 1 or day 5, that happens? He creates them then, and then say that part again. Like, so, when does the... Sometimes he creates Adam and Eve on day 1, and sometimes on day 5.
If you read the story, it just says two different things about that. There's a lot. God creates light on the first day or like the fifth day. See, I'm so fucking blitzed right now that even though I can go Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges. Yeah. So I can't remember right now. But
that's good.
But the original sin thing is, women get punished.
Right, but we're talking about infallible diction.
Oh,
so I want to like it doesn't matter. So is the how far after he creates them does the altercation or the event, the infraction happen?
Man, pretty much right away. Right? Okay. He creates them. He gives them dominion. Adam's there naming everything first, right? Adam's lonely, so out of his rib, God makes woman.
Right. So that's not the same. Is that all in the same day? Like Adam is a fucking mandy little bitch because he can't sit around for a day, but he's whining so hard that God's like, okay, Jesus. I mean, probably wouldn't say that, but maybe he would.
Maybe Jesus wasn't around then. Yeah.
No, but that's where he got the name from. God, you know what I'm going to call him? That word I always use, I can't figure out why. Jesus, stop your bitching. Here. Give me here. You pull out a rib. I'm going to make something. I'm going to make you a playmate over here. So, like that's the sort of thing I want to, like.
The inconsistencies?
Well, not necessarily, I don't know about inconsistency, but just the facts. If we're talking about infallible, the story does not warrant. I could be wrong, but if all of that happens in like a paragraph, what I'm saying is that the story as told does not warrant inerrant or infallibility. There's not enough to it. It's by nature and by its length or lack of length. It is you have to interpret. You have to fill in the blanks. You have to fucking use your imagination and your intellect. and you know what I mean? So like that's what I'm talking about. It's like I like to write stories. I like to
you're good at it.
Well, and so but if you're going to tell me that I've written a story that says there was nothing and then I created everything and the next day this one thing that I created was whining about being lonely, that's already a shitty story.
Yeah.
That's already like not realistic. It's like this thing doesn't even know like is it a baby? Is it a baby that can't,
that's Adam. So it opens with God creating everything. There was like nothing. Out of nothing, God created light and darkness and blah, blah, blah. But yes, if you just read the Bible in that story, if you just read the words and write it down and see what it's trying to say, you'll see that in many places right from the beginning, The Bible, it's conflicting with itself. It literally is saying two different things in two different chapters, right back to back. It's pretty cool. And if you, but the original sin thing we got off on, right? Because that is where that comes from. People think women fucked everything up by eating this apple, and it's really interesting that they like villainize the girls right out from the start. But
what does it say exactly?
Oh, let me think. So Adam is off doing something which is probably a mistake because he's leaving her alone, is what pastors would always tell me. Misogynistic stuff is pretty fun. And Eve is tempted by the serpent because in this Garden of Eden, this perfect place, there is these two trees. And one of them has the knowledge of good and evil. So if you eat from this tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you become like God, and you are now a threat to God, and you're not allowed to be in this place. Right? It's pretty interesting. So the serpent comes to her and goes like, did God really say that? That's fucking stupid. The serpent's the one that lets him know that they'll just be like God. If they eat this, they'll be like a god. God didn't let him know. He just says, don't eat. And Eve's like, really? So she's tempted and she fucking eats. And then the man comes back and he's like, what did you do? And she got him to eat it. And then they both realized they were naked. So they freak the fuck out and they cover themselves and they're hiding in this bush. And then God is calling out to them like, Adam, which is hilarious just to think of God like walking around the earth, like being like,
can't see behind a bush. You just fucking created this bush.
Pretty fun. And
see.
So he goes, they're naked. He goes, who told you were naked? You know, because that's what they say. We're afraid of you because we were unclothed. And then God goes back to somewhere and he goes to heaven. He goes, the humans have eaten of the fruit and become like us. Something that I've never heard any pastor talk about. Well, they do. That's how they say the Trinity happens. That's how the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit happen. But
but in the book of whatever we're talking about, he uses
Genesis.
The word, he uses the word us.
Yeah, I can try to see.
That's sketchy.
But that's the propaganda, right?
That's it.
But can I?
No.
I don't want to unpack. I don't want to unpack more of that because I want to unpack my weird idea.
Okay. All right.
So I want to hear. I want to hear your take on this.
Okay.
I don't know how, but I was listening to Duran Duran on a tour once in the back of the van, and it was just like, God, that guy's so good at playing bass. And then, boom! Strangely, I thought about Lucifer. Okay? So, apparently before the world was even created, God had angels. A realm, a kingdom, apparently he is in control of. And the best angel, the coolest angel, the most attractive angel was this one named Lucifer. And he gets cast out of heaven, right? And that kind of kicks fucking everything off. So he says, I will ascend to the throne of God. And that's why God kicks him out of heaven. Because he says, I will become a god. And God and a third of the angels God kicks out him and a third of the angels, and they fall, and now they do all the horrible things in the world are all only done by Satan. So, in my opinion, that's the first sin. Pride. It seems like pride is the first sin, because whenever anyone goes like, I'm going to take over this shit and be king shit, that's when things pretty much go awry in the Bible. So I would argue that.
Well, and you could also say that not just the pride of Lucifer, but the pride of God, wouldn't he say, you can handle that better? You don't cast people out. You accept them for who they are, and you work with them to find a Christian-like outcome.
Yeah, these stories are all Old Testament, so they'd be Jewish. So, Christians Christians basically like believe Jewish stuff without being Jewish. Like they don't do any of the stuff or sacrifice anything in their lives or whatever. You know, it's really weird.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with. I like your idea of original sin being pride, because I would just go one step further, and it wasn't just Lucy, it was also, you know, our beloved. They were having an argument, and I guess, you know, if you're going to be a benevolent, all-knowing, all-seeing, what are you afraid of? You know, you just got to counsel this guy. But you instead get all paranoid and anxious, and you're out of your Valium, your God pills, so you freak out and you, oh no, he's coming for me, and you cast him out. You know, it's like that doesn't sound very godlike.
No, no.
Because and honestly, if they're saying that happened first, where he cast him out to where? Because if he doesn't throw down creation till afterwards, it's like, you know.
I love this question. Let's answer this. This is so beautiful because no Christians realize this. Why the fuck is he casting him down? Because if you're a Christian, you believe in a 3-tiered universe. If you were a Christian around Jesus' time, you were in the middle, God was above you, and hell was underneath you. So even the terms they use, God's up there, he casts Satan down onto the earth where you are. And underneath the earth. God, he controls underneath the earth, and his evil seeps up into us all. So if you are believing this Bible correctly, you don't believe in outer space, really.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. So is it literally in the earth? Like
yeah, right underneath.
Lucy is in
underneath
the ground. Yeah, in the fiery depths of the
There's all sorts of fucking shit that gets opened up like the earth opens up and these monsters come out. We'll get into Revelation someday. It's fucking cool. It's a cool book.
Yeah. Well, I'm not. I mean, there's a lot of land in between us and the other side. So
are you You're hollow earthing it? You think
no. I'm just saying. It's a solid ball, but even you've seen the Grand Canyon. I'm sure there's Grand Canyons in the, I'm not a Hollow Earth guy, but I do. But it's a pretty crazy thing we're living on here. This little ship of ours, and I'm not saying there's not some luxury cabins down below.
It's fun to entertain. It's more fun than thinking God cast people out of heaven.
Again, but what we're talking about is again, I think it's super important to make that leap, not of faith to space isn't real, but that space is real, and what they're talking about is, the figurative, because there is no up and down really.
Or how about
gravity tells us there's up and down, but once you get off the planet, there's no gravity.
Yeah.
There's no up, there's no down, there's no day, there's no night.
Yeah. But this is something they wouldn't know when they wrote this, correct? Right. And so that's why, but here's the thing that we take for granted all the time is we're in this weird, electrified, completely plugged in, knowledgeable world. It's so crazy the amount of knowledge we have now, and no one can think of what it must have been like to sleep outside or in a hut, but to constantly look up without any light and see the fucking stars.
Yeah.
Without anything. You see the Milky Way. To live, totally connected to the earth. It must have been, whatever they're saying, I think it's important, and we should try to figure the fuck out. And that, and I'm not just talking about the Bible, all of them, because what did they know? They probably knew some things we didn't. Now, what I see and what we're getting to through talking this much about it, having the time to actually because it's so hard to stay on a topic because it all just bleeds together, and it's very easy to be confusing with this book, right? Yeah. But if you take it the way that you're starting to say, which is the way that I kind of do, is that there's this, none of us asked to be born. You show up one day, and you're trying to figure this all out. And then you start thinking, people above you, they're gods. They got to figure it out. They're huge, right? this book through time, these books, all of them get so easily manipulated and so easily used to manipulate, and it becomes a control thing, and no one wants to admit it because why? Life's fucking hard. And you know what's rad on Sunday? You get to see all the kindest people that just smile and they're just trying their best. It's a beautiful community to have. It's beautiful, but
it's a beautiful idea.
It can happen. It just has to be based in truth, and people have to stop lying to themselves and lying to everyone else. That's how all this bullshit happens.
Yeah.
If we know, if you can, like, so the thing that I'm excited about, that I still do this all day. I literally like listen to at least 4 or 5 hours of these college courses on New Testament and all these different topics. It's just kind of always what I've done. Even on tour, I always took the back bench, and I had this box, and I was like trying to learn how to read Greek so I could like read the Bible.
Read it
the original
from the source.
Yeah, come on.
Bible tap hits.
Come on, it'd be rad, right? I never did it though. By the way, I discovered
it's tough.
Yeah, dude, I struggle with English.
Yeah,
it's the language I speak. So when you start taking it apart, the thing that I found that's cool is it didn't like demystify it, and it didn't like make it less powerful. It just made my life better, and it made everyone around me that has to interact with me's life better. Now that I can take the Bible away from these like fundamental dogmatic ideals that unfortunately don't work at all. Because if you're going to follow the Bible, it's really hard and it doesn't really work. Like,
I've this is something else I've started thinking about while we're having these talks, is that periodically I think we should start writing a gospel.
I'm fucking down.
I think that, like, well, the gospel according to us, just like it, obviously uncanonized, but important and accurate nonetheless. It's like, are we not I mean, you're a scholar of the Bible. You've spent your 10,000 hours plus,
yeah. But it's all that's just me reading the Bible, by the way. This is just me reading the Bible all the time.
But what else is there? Because, I mean, any actual, it's all interpretation. I mean, if you go to the seminary, they're just teaching you about the Bible, right? Mm-hmm. It's not like there isn't any new material. It's right here. This is the thing. And so why can't we do an interpretation?
I'll tell you why. So the reason these people don't is like, for a lot of knowledge has been coming out and with technology, right? Technology is advancing a lot of our understandings of the world, like that. I can't even pronounce it right, but that place like Göbekli Tepe or whatever, that really old place.
Yeah, in where is it? It's not Iran.
Turkey, maybe?
Turkey. Yeah.
It's crazy. And like,
Oh, dude, I'm gonna blow your mind.
Yeah, cool. Well, so the problem is throughout time, ever since the Protestant Reformation, where Martin Luther like pounds the fucking his thesis on that, and is like, essentially that's really when it kicks off, where you don't have to go to church. You can read the Bible and meet with God in your heart. That's what starts that, okay?
But anyway, so I think we should write our own Bible.
Yeah.
Or just a gospel, because there's no reason not to. I appreciate you're not supposed to do that, but nobody has in so long, and I think it's important that there be some voice, some modern voice that we're not. I love the idea that this is a spiritual and like a guide on how to live your life.
You mean our conversations? You mean that's what we're trying to figure
out?
Oh,
the Bible. I love the idea that the Bible is you are God, and it says treat yourself. Be fucking excellent to each other. I mean, it's basically the things.
It's fucking Bill and Ted.
It totally is. But like, it's important to weed out the stuff. Like knowing what we know now. There's no up. There's no down. There's no night. There's no day. That's all. Gravity gravity is up and down. That's all there is to it. That's a curvature in time space. And I'm sorry, that's the deal. And the part where, you have to obey your parents, that's because if you didn't, you were going to run off in the middle of the night and get eaten by fucking cannibal, people. They were
or a big cat.
Whatever it was, right? Yeah. And it's just important to have I don't know, we could put a little perspective.
Okay. I'm going to edit this part because I have to remember what I was saying. We were talking about
we're going to write a gospel, and it's a spiritual guide. And
what it's lasted for so long.
Oh, yeah, great. Yeah.
I was trying to get through this idea. Like, the stories don't just like fucking, have you watched Pinocchio lately? Like, have you seen that in the last any years?
Only when they're Disney show up in one of the, I don't know where he isn't.
Dude, check it out. This lonely father wants to have a real boy, a real connection, a real life. This wooden thing he makes wants to become real. All of us want to live forever. All of us want to go to heaven, right? That boy goes through this like crazy peril, where he has to like grow up, and then he goes to that island, right? And the island's called Jackass Island, I think. Cause we watched it. I watched it with Crosby like 2 months ago. I was like, what? And everyone at Jackass Island, you know what they do? Whatever they want. Whatever the fuck they want. They're playing pool, they're drinking, they're talking, blah, blah, blah. And what do they turn into? Donkeys. They all start turning into donkeys. If you partake in this type of lifestyle, your life will become you're going to become a fucking ass.
A mule.
Right. And it's like, all these stories of the Bible permeate everywhere. Have you ever read Joseph Campbell? Or
I didn't know that Pinocchio was a Bible story.
Every single fucking Disney story has the hero's journey arc. Have you ever read the hero's journey?
No.
Or any Joseph? Oh, dude, it's the shit.
Yeah.
Blew my mind. He died a while ago, but so Joseph Campbell, basically, he was on the set of Star Wars, and this book was George Lucas's favorite book.
Yeah,
and so he's like this mythologist. So he studies every religion, but he never talks about bullshit. He just talks about where they intersect. He just isn't it interesting that this Aboriginary tribe in Australia and this thing in China and the Protestants in Scotland all came up with this same idea about this.
Right.
And it's fascinating because, so the idea is that, you're Luke Skywalker and your journey and your story. And if you boil down all the stories of all the different religions, they kind of look like this. You're Luke Skywalker. You're born, you're an orphan. Because at one point you're going to figure out your parents are just humans too, and they don't know what the fuck's going on, and you're going to get scared.
And then the stormtroopers come and kill them. And
that's your call to adventure. Do you accept it? Do you go on the adventure? When they give you the lightsaber, do you take it? If you do, you have all these different like levels of life. Like first it's bliss because you're like free for the first time and free of burden. And then you go through this whole thing where you have to go kill your father, go destroy the chaos, make sense of it all, and then come back to the village and give it to them. You see this metamorphosis through every fucking film ever. That's why the hero struggles for a while there at the end, and you don't think he's gonna make it, and then it comes through, right? It's like this is arc of all time. Why they were talking about it 6,000 plus years ago.
Yeah.
Look at my eyes.
Are they all red? I need to take a quality time out. It's funny to me though, because almost it seems like every time you have one, it ends up being the same. When we boil down to its essence, it's just the message is take this into your heart in the way that it means the most to you, and go forth through life thinking that way.
Yeah, but see, and maybe this is, I kind of always, no matter, I didn't really have the best self-esteem growing up, if you can imagine, because, when you grow up out segregated, out in the woods, you don't have any data. You just don't know. You've never been, you don't even, I didn't change in a locker room till I was, on tour or something like that, like much older. And like, my dad just a couple weeks ago was like, I was talking about Christians, and he's like, well, you got to remember, they haven't had half of the experiences you had, and you're kind of judging them from this angle, you know? And unfortunately, that is the truth, is a lot of people get comforted by having, like you said earlier, the sheep angle. They get comforted by the fact that they know the guy that knows everything, and so they don't have to worry about it. They can just go, I want to play my Parcheesies. I want to play my Monopolies. I want to do good Christian games at VBS every summer.
Right.
You know?
Well, maybe that's maybe that's the angle of our gospel, is that the first rule of Fight Club is that you always talk about Fight Club. Like the first rule is that go out and experience life. Life is for the living, and your days are numbered, and it's not guaranteed you're going to Valhalla at the end. It's not, that's not necessarily on the table. And so just maybe if you want to believe it is, great, but somewhere in your psyche or in your decision-making process, leave a little room on the table for once you're done, you're done. And so go out and live some life, and don't believe everything you read, and and have an open mind. Like so I think we should start working on not a mantra, but like a mission statement for our gospel.
I'm totally fucking down. Yeah.
And it has to encompass open mind, life experience, and questioning. Question the advisors, question the leaders, question your
sources,
question the source.
Yeah. Dude,
it's called it can be called #fact check. and as always, fact check.
Yeah, that's your thing.
All right, gospel according to fucking me.
But I've had so many conversations that what we're getting to here, what you just said about the Bible leads to this place, essentially just don't be a cunt, don't be a dick. It's like, what a beautiful gift you've been given, even if it's horrible. Even the worst times of your life, you'll look back, if you can be objective, and if you've grown through that, you'll be like,
right.
You'll really appreciate that. So even the worst breakup of your life can become the best thing that ever happened to you. That's pretty magical.
I agree.
Right? Yeah.
So there's that crazy intersection between have an open mind and don't be a dick. Like one of those has to be, like those have to be in the first statement. Like don't be a dick is super important. It's like that could be all the Bible says. And it'd be okay. Just don't be a dick. But obviously, there's people who need more, because they'll interpret that as like, well, I'm not walking around dressed like a penis, so I'm doing my job.
I was just looking at the 10 Commandments.
Well, isn't the golden rule don't be a dick?
Do unto others as you would have done unto yourself.
Right.
Yeah, it's really weird that, man, I don't want to get on a tangent on that one, but because
where does that show up? Where's the golden rule?
I believe it's like either right before or in this sermon of Jesus called the Beatitudes. It's like one of his public sermons, though.
That was also a little known fact. That was also the name of his high school barbershop quartet.
The B-sharp attitudes?
Uh-huh.
I love that shit, though. And, that's my favorite part. Like, Jesus being cool and kind to everyone, always just like, yeah, man, that's it. Like, because it's so much more powerful. Like I've been in some scraps now, unfortunately. That's from a bike. Most of these are from bikes. But, a little bit of love ruins a fucking lot of hate. That's a Henry Rollins quote, but like it's true. And like that side of Jesus was always so rad to me, and it's so palatable. There's another verse in Proverbs that says, if your enemy scoffs at him, offer him a reward, or something like that. If your enemy says mean things about you, give him a compliment. And it's like the idea is if this guy's being bad to you, be good to him. And then the verse right after it says, for vengeance is mine, I shall repay, says the Lord. And it's like, also, it says that compliment will be like a hot coal on his head.
Oh, he's gonna bite.
But it works.
Hot coal.
Yeah, you know, and it's like...
So one of a sidebar, one of our swag, we should get T-shirts and hats with a guy with a hot coal on his head going,
I think we need to make T-shirts that point out errors in the Bible and verses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But wait, so I want to so you're saying that the golden rule was uttered by Jesus, which means it's New Testament?
Mm-hmm.
So the golden rule is not even in the, and that's, but he does get credited, like that says, copyright Chase.
Let me fact check.
Mm-hmm.
Hashtag Jeff Ready. I can't hashtag. What did I just do?
No,
that was so fake.
That's
God
okay.
damn it. I can't even use this thing.
Yeah, I can't do
The Old Testament. Oh, it says it appears in Leviticus 19:18.
What is that? Is that Old Testament?
Yeah, it's way Old Testament. It's like the rules and regulations of the Levites, these priests.
And is that before Moses or after?
That's before, I believe.
Well, that would make sense.
I might be wrong.
Hashtag. But I've always assumed it was the golden rule came first, and then Moses took the DMT trip and came back with the Ten Commandments.
Well, it must have been after Moses because it comes Leviticus comes after. Well, I don't know. The placement of the books in the Bible don't usually matter actually in timeline, so I don't know.
See, I don't see a lot of difference in what we're doing with what the people who supposedly wrote the Bible did.
Oh, 100%. But the thing...
Well, no, I think... See, I'm pretty sure Leviticus was before Mark 3, so... No, I'm pretty sure. Are you sure? I'm pretty good. No, I'm pretty good. Hold on.
Yeah, you know who did that, actually?
Who?
Jesus.
Did what?
Misquoted the Bible. Misquoted the Old Testament.
Yeah, well...
I'm looking it up right now.
Was he... was it Stone Jesus?
Man, apparently it's a lot. But this will be a good... Let's do
this.
It's
a long list.
Yeah, see, that's the... So let's do this. Because I am literally in the middle of this. So I've been listening to this... Do you know what the great courses are?
No.
It's cool. I got obsessed with this shit on tour because I was never allowed to go to school. So later on in life, when I figured out you could just like listen to lectures, like Stanford and all these crazy universities would just put all their psychology lectures online. I listened to all of them. I'm like, what? This is fascinating. So the great course is kind of that. It's just the lectures of whatever. I've never been to school, so I don't know what they call it in college.
Courses?
Yeah. The semester? I don't know. So it's like
a quarter. Yeah, quarters and semesters.
Yeah, so sometimes they're like 40 hours long. Sometimes they're 8, 9. There's this one that I think is like 9 or 12. I've listened to it maybe 10 times now. So now what I'm doing is taking notes because it's so fascinating. And there's so many dates and times. So I'll unpack this even more because I'm in the middle of it. And
awesome.
Yeah. But it does the thing that should be like taken into consideration is like you said, what we're trying to do here, this is the most honest conversation I've ever been able to have about religion. I literally get to say what I think, and I know people are pissed off or whatever, but like, it's very liberating for me. Like, I feel much better. And like, there was a lot of abuse used in my life on it. And there's power in this shit. And like, people want to deny it because they have an insane family member that judges everyone and thinks that their life is perfect and their life is a fucking hot mess, and it turns you off, and it's obvious that like meaning is so massively just void in so many humans' lives today. And so we need to update everything. We need to update this shit.
That's the term, update, right? And not like not revise, not even interpret, just like update. We're like, here's where we are. A couple things I want to hit on what you just said that were really interesting to me. Now that word power, and not just like power over people, but power to decide for yourself, power to embolden yourself, to unshackle yourself. But if we can somehow, through this medium of kind of unpacking and unwinding and untying, if we can help people, or we're not doing it to help people, we're just doing it because we want to make some money, and it's fun to talk about, and we do this stuff anyway. But if there's some power to be gleaned, maybe this is the first step, and we've already talked about having a gospel and maybe a mission statement. Maybe this is the first step in starting our own church.
For real.
That maybe there is power to be gleaned. Maybe we can be all powerful in our own church, and like we can. You already said it. No, you already said it. Well, so like through reading the Gospels a lot, through reading the Bible a lot, you start like kind of taking away overall arching ideas instead of like, there's spots where it kind of like disagrees, and there's, but you can kind of see this arc, and it's very interesting that Jesus is all about individual empowerment. And it's very strange that the ideologies and the theologies that make up the thinking and pastoral elite brains of this country that control the religion that's controlling everyone are absolutely against opposed.
That. Yeah. 100%. No, we don't even, is sex a spectrum? It seems like it could be. Doesn't the clitoris start out as a small penis as a baby and then grows bigger? Sometimes it doesn't. Like, why are we judging every single fucking human being for what kind of sex they want to have, or what kind of sex they believe they are, or what they think about this or that? Jesus just helped them. Jesus just helped people. He just gave to them, and he just helped them. Like, what's so fucking hard about that? Why can't we just make people's lives a little easier? It's fucking hard. We're all dealing with it. Maybe that person has some knowledge that you don't. Yeah. Maybe that person knows an angle of life that you don't. Maybe that humility would help you.
The perspective. Everybody has their own perspective, and I would think for the most part, well, I don't know. I think, who knows? I like it. I'm pretty excited. Like we have a path forward for sure. Like even like, I like when it's like, I feel like that the Escher painting where the hand is drawing itself. I feel like we're creating this reality as we go, and it's taking shape in front of us.
Yeah, I mean, well, here's the crazy thing. I've had these conversations with so many different individuals, and I'll tell you one thing: it's impossible. So it's been, for me, it's been very freeing, because most people just shut down. Especially if you know like a detail, and so the inerrancy thing is the hugest fucking angle, because unfortunately almost every Christian has their entire faith hinged on this. Right. And I'll say this to make those people not freak out. Like, outside of the Bible, outside of the Gospels, which are obviously fucking bias towards one side, okay? Outside of that really biased, not necessarily historical document, this very important thing that has been passed down to us. There's this guy named Jesus, and he was really poor, and he walked around the countryside doing like magician shit, and he was killed for trying to overthrow Rome. That is enough. If you want to believe in Jesus or any of these stories, great, there you go. But let's unpack it. Let's talk about it. So now that you're there, you know, and I'll say one more thing. The religion that I was brought up in, this Baptist thing, was like head up by this guy named Billy Graham. And do you know much about Billy Graham?
So is he the head of his own church?
Billy Graham's kind of fucking awesome. I liked him. There's a bunch of other guys that are huge that I can talk all the shit about, and I would love to at some point. But Baptists in these tent revivals and how they came about, it's kind of interesting because it affects our fucking nation, right? And they were really worried about saving people from hell. It's like, you're going to burn. And what a beautiful analogy. If a truck was coming at you, would I not try to yell at you and warn you to save your life? You know, yes, of course. But they were only concerned about that. Get people saved. Get them in the tent. You're going to burn. They got all these people saved, and that's what's being passed down. That's kind of the faith I came up in. They don't care about your life after. They just need you fucking saved. You know, but guess what? Your life is going to go on for a long time.
Yeah, I don't know. That whole saving bit. It's you know, I don't know. I think that's we should start the next episode there.
The saving bit.
Yeah, it's just you know, the part in the Catholic faith, you can do anything, and you can be forgiven just by admitting you've done it. I don't believe there are any. I mean, I don't believe there are any sins, any behavior that will not be forgiven if you admit it. Kill as many people as you want.
Interesting. They don't talk about blasphemy of the Holy Spirit? Do they ever say that?
Yeah, you're not allowed to, you know, don't take the, whatever. That was one of the ones, that's the only thing did I tell you about I went to, did it once. And it was the lead up to being confirmed. And I just put it off and put it off and put it off. And finally, it was a face-to-face. And it's me and this old dude.
Oh, so it's not like you don't have the division thing?
No, this is a new bit. This is the new bit. You're sitting on a couch.
Oh, damn. A couch?
I think that's so he can get his hands on you if you're good looking. But he's like, and he knew exactly who I was because, you know, there's only like 2 guys in the whole church who are my age who haven't been to confession, and they're waiting on them because it's like, you know, they want to like, you know, mark the box that like this guy will be bringing his kids and they'll be, you know, filling up the coffers for days to come. And finally I get in there and it's like, oh fuck, you know, what have you done? Admit your sins, whatever it is. I'm like, well, I've taken the Lord's name in vain a bunch. Well, you know, I broke some windows. I suppose I haven't necessarily, you know, honored my father and mother all the time. And he's just like, that's cool. Okay, well, just knock out some Hail Marys. You're good.
Did they ever... do you ever accept Jesus into your heart? Did they ever do that thing?
No. Well,
really?
That's the whole idea is your first your confirmation. That's basically... I don't know that the words accept him into your heart come into it. They're just like, will you accept us into your wallet? That's basically it. It's like, are you gonna make sure to come in here every Sunday and put some ducats in the box? And are you going to make sure that you scare your kids into doing the same thing? And you know, because, you know, we've got our own country to run here and that costs money. And so we need yours. You are our spiritual taxpayers. And that's, you know, so I don't know that love, I don't remember hearing about love very much. You know, I don't remember hearing about, you know, it was mostly guilt, fear, and anxiety.
Okay. Yeah.
That's why I'm a recovering Catholic.
Yeah. I like ceremony. I think it's kind of sick. I went
Dude, I could, if you started me off and kind of knocked me back into the lane once in a while, I could probably recite the entire Catholic Mass to you.
Dude,
start to finish.
I was when I was hanging out in Moscow, they gave us a guide that would take us around anywhere we want. So I can't remember if it might have been Easter. He took me to St. Basil's, that crazy, and they were like speaking in Latin, but it was in the back, and he like mentioned to me, he goes, "This is 4 hours," and so I didn't want to do it. So I kind of regret it now, actually. Even though I got to see a bunch of badass museums that day, it was rad. It was rad. But I like that idea. But in Christianity, it's like straight up just like a summer camp. Like there was this rad camp that so many of my memories that were decent were attached to. Probably because it's the closest thing to other kids,
community. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But so you get these ecstatic experience because you're like, you're 8 and 10 and 9 and 10. I went there from 8, 9, 10, 11. I was a counselor there. I've prayed with kids there, on our knees about all this stuff. And when I was there, you could have this rad week. You go on, do you know what a blob is?
No.
It's a big cushion that's filled with air they put on the lake. And then they have this massive high dive. So you jump onto this big cushion and it's all nice and boom. And then you climb out to the end, and then someone else jumps on it, and you just fucking go like 3 stories.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool. They have
Cool.
They have like a bike jump that goes into the lake. They have like rope swings. They have nature walks.
Yeah.
They have, and so you're having these amazing experiences, and all day you stop and have like a Bible study. At night, there's like a campfire with everyone. You all sing the same songs. It's incredible. It's essentially like being high as fuck without doing drugs. It can be a great experience. But in that, always, it leads to these crooks about the fact that you're going to die and burn in hell forever.
This is nice, isn't it? You enjoy this part? Yeah. It's really nice, right? I got good news and bad news.
Yeah. And it really I already grew up knowing that God was all-knowing, so he knew all of my thoughts, good or bad, and he was going to judge me by those at the end of my life. And you hear all this stuff over and over.
Well, so you were talking about camp and
indoctrination. And then so at the end, the whole deal is you pray. Do you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior and, God over your life?
Every camp session would end with that? Or every Mass?
A lot of them. Every camp usually is like, if that's happening day by day, that's great.
Right.
If that's happening day by day, that's great. But at the end, like Friday night, there'll always be like a crazy big awesome, and by the way, it works. It brings a lot of people hope, and I met a lot of cool fucking friends there, but it is indoctrination
for sure.
And it is,
but it sounds like you had a good time, enjoyed it, and like your really fond memories, and the climaxing in this great moment. Because for me, I only went to camp once, and it was CYO, which is Catholic Youth Organization. Camp Don Bosco out it's out at Incarnation, by the pumpkin patch out there, whatever it's called, like right in the same neighborhood there. And I didn't get to go until I was like 6th grade. I think we were the oldest kids there, so we were, is
that like 13, 12?
I think it's like 10 or 11.
Okay.
Yeah, and so our barracks, or whatever you want to call them, were like, across the field from the main complex, and then up this giant trail hill, and we were up there, and that's like where our outhouse was and where our barracks was. And one of the last days, we're in the cafeteria having dinner, and I gotta go. I gotta go. It's not, and it's not number one. It's JC.
Shit.
And I'm like, I'm telling my counselor. He's like, but there's always this, like the we are Camp Don Bosco, right? It's like, and a counselor gets up and sings like this song that's like a Weird Al version of "We Will Rock You," only it's all Christian or Catholic shit.
Yes.
And I'm like, no, dude, I'm into it. And it's every dinner, every. And I'm like, I'm into it. That's cool, but I got to go. And he's like, just wait till this is over. I'm like, motherfucker. Okay, fine. And I wait. And finally say, okay, you can go. And I'm like, across the field.
Like Chariots of Fire theme.
Or the $6 Million Man theme, which either one. And I'm running across, and I'm like, oh man, it's gonna be close. It's gonna be a fucking down to the wire finish. Run across the field, up the sprint. I mean, these trails are like, they're unreasonable trails because they're for kids, and kids are like fucking billy goats. And I'm just like up to the top, and I get into the thing, and I'm like, I get in, I slam the door, I'm like, I'm in there, and I go to get my drawstring untied, and I can't get the knot undone.
Oh shit!
And I'm like, I can't get the knot undone, and I can't get the knot undone, and then it doesn't matter because it's too late. And I'm like, I'm still trying to get the knot undone. And it's like, it's all just like coming down. And I'm like, no. And I didn't start crying until I started pissing. Because then I'm just like, oh, fuck, it's over. And I don't know that I ever got it. All I remember is like somehow, I don't even remember how they found me. I just remember ending up in my rack, and all of all the dudes are, you have like what, like there are 9 other guys in there, and you get to be kind of, there's like it's not Children of the Corn, but the conch,
there's a hierarchy that develops.
Yeah, exactly, and every one of them, no matter if we were good or bad, they were all just like, it's cool, bro. It's cool, man. Everybody was good. It was like it was not a thing at all. But it's like, what sort of like I had the wherewithal to be like, I gotta go, and what sort of God advises this? He's probably your age at the time. He's like 14 or 16. The guy who wouldn't let me go.
Yeah. To
like not acquiesce to these to young people who know themselves enough to be like, dude, I'm not joking here. You're gonna have to clean this up. I promise.
Yeah. I don't. Right. No, I kind of think none of us are smart enough to read the Bible. And I think you see the fucking boat. Like, everyone thinks they're a Christian, but if you hang out with them long enough, you'll see. Like, look at their fucking search history on their private browser. Like, they're fucking human. And like people don't. They hide behind this. No, because I go to church, I do it right. And it's like, you got to do it. You've got to live it. You've got to actually act it out. If it's actually in there. Abrupt ending to that shit, huh? That's because we woke up really early to do this for y'all. Way too early. Probably shouldn't be that baked that early in the morning. But whatever. We pay our taxes. God damn it. We're productive human beings. Thank you all for the emails, the texts, the random messages, and the socials. It's been really rad, and we're very excited to do this again. Smooches.